and this is ILTV Weekly with an in-depth look at the top news coming out of Israel this week. On today's show, a two-part look at the future for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, with US President Donald Trump set to host Netanyahu for a meeting at the White House on March 5th. Will annexation of Jewish settlements in the West Bank be on the table? This after Israeli police recommend he be charged with bribery in 2 corruption cases, putting his coalition and his leadership into question. But first, 2 Palestinian teens were found killed in the southern area of the Gaza Strip Monday, following 2 waves of Israeli air raids. This after an explosive device was detonated on the border with Israel, injuring 4 Israeli soldiers. Israel's Netanyahu vowing to respond accordingly. Here's that before we break it down with this week's panel of guests.
התקרית היום בגבול רצועת עזה היא חמורה. אנחנו נגיב בהתאם, ואני שולח איחולי החלמה מלאה לפצועים.
Joining us in studio today, Dr. Martin Sherman, director and founder of the Israel Institute for Strategic Studies, Dr. Mordechai Kedar of Bar-Ilan University, Yotam Yakoba, Peace Now's Director of Public Activity, and Professor Moshe Amirav, lecturer and expert on the Jerusalem conflict. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We just heard now from Benjamin Netanyahu saying Israel will respond to any escalation on the border with Gaza. Is he looking for that right now? Dr. Sherman, I'll come to you first.
Well, I don't think he's looking for it, but I think the whole approach must be not to be distracted by particular incidents, because I think that it takes the focus away from the whole failure of the idea of trying to foist statehood on the Arabs of Gaza. You know, now it's explosives idea. It's explosives. Before it was knives, and then it was shooting, and then it was rockets, and then it was tunnels. There will never be stability or peace for the Jews in the Negev as long as they're Arabs in Gaza.
Because of this explosive device that was left on the border, the army says there's going to be a new policy of treating Palestinians, quote, differently when they're protesting there on the border between Israel and Gaza. Yotam, what do you make of that?
I think basically we can foresee the next round and the escalation, but the solution, the tools to solve the problem is not in the arena of the security. It's not in the IDF terms of application.
No,
it's only in the diplomatic
maybe
table.
Maybe give him self-determination.
No, wait a second. What I'm trying to say...
Why haven't we tried that before?
No, what I'm trying to say is the way to solve the problem that we have is not in the hands of the Minister of Defense. It's in the Foreign Affairs Minister. It's in Bibi Netanyahu's hand because what we're dealing here, it's a problem. It's a political problem. It's not. You cannot bomb your way out of Gaza.
Explain the politics. Explain the politics. I mean, the Arabs in Gaza have got everything they asked for in return for nothing. Why aren't they building a Hong Kong of the Middle East? Why?
No, first of all, you know that Israel has implement a siege into Gaza.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
that is the result. That's the result of Arab enmity, not the cause of Arab enmity. That's the consequence and not the cause. It's the result, not the reason.
No, but what we see today,
anyone advocating to take away the blockade is anti-Semitic. Why I'll tell you anti-Semitic? Because it means Jews should die meekly. Because everything that Jews do to defend themselves is automatically denigrated as disproportional force.
Listen. I served as a combat soldier in the border of Gaza. I know exactly what is the meaning, but the doctrine that Netanyahu is holding is put in your head against the wall times by time. But if we want to see a different horizon to Gaza, this is the time.
What about Arik Sharon?
What about them?
They also had a blockade. What is putting on Netanyahu? What's Netanyahu got to do with it?
Do you want to see us again in the next one? You can foresee the next operation in Gaza.
Of course you can.
So what are we going to do?
And the next one should be the last one.
I really hope so. I hope that the last one is the last one. I really hope the last one is the last one.
The answer to Gaza is not reconstruction, but deconstruction.
What do you two think? Do you think the situation will escalate, and do you think Netanyahu wants this to happen?
What we hear is totally detached from the reality of the Middle East. Maybe it could be applicable in Europe and America.
Gaza is totally detached from the reality of the Middle East. You have 2 million people who are living in
here in the Middle East. Right. Yeah. First, learn something about the Middle East.
I learned something.
Two things. Yes. Peace in the Middle East means a ceasefire. Nothing but. This is what we have with Egypt. This is what we have in Jordan.
This is your opinion.
Nothing more than this, because this is the Middle East. It's not like Europe here. First of all, ceasefire. Secondly, such a peace is being achieved when you have a deterrence. Nothing but. Not if you want peace, especially if you don't want peace now. This actually, if you want peace now,
Yes.
you'll get a kick. You know exactly where. Here in the Middle East, only if you are powerful and dangerous, only then you get ceasefire.
We are
for a
for
while.
70 years we are dangerous and not powerful, and
Okay.
I don't
This
want
is
us to
right.
stop being not dangerous and not powerful.
Look,
But let me tell you something.
Egypt failed in exterminating Israel in 73, in 67, 56,
We're moving away here
48.
from Gaza.
This is why they give
Let's take
advice.
it back. Let's take it back
I'm
to the
not a
Gaza
pacifist.
Strip.
Power.
I'm not a
Professor Amir,
pacifist.
Unfortunately,
But I want to
this
see
is
the
not where you
Israelis.
live. You live in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, but he was
You-
in Tel
you-
Aviv.
לא, תסלח לי, יש תרבות של דיבור.
Okay, he was
You
exactly my
have no understanding of the Middle East. You see everything from
This is a
modern
personal attack.
liberal point of view,
Moti Kedar, I would like to take
is
it
not
away from
applicable
that.
in the Middle East. Here in Rome, act like the Roman, and here in the Middle East, act like the Middle Eastern.
Professor Amirav, can I have a final comment from you on this topic of Gaza, please?
The issue of Gaza and the issue of the Palestinians in Gaza is part of the general problem. We can't solve Gaza alone. We have to find a solution with Gaza and with the West Bank, and I'll say more than that, with the Arab countries. And if we don't have such an overall solution, all the rest will be a kind of things we did before.
Okay,
So
thank you for that.
Gaza is not standing alone. We speak about Gaza like if we solve Gaza, we have peace. Gaza is part of the problem, and we have to relate to it as part of the situation.
Calling for an
I've
international
been
solution
in
there. Thank you.
many arguments and meetings with Palestinians, with Arafat. I was in Camp David with my prime minister, and Gaza was always part of the problem. Maybe it's the most crucial one.
I think
but
Gazans
it's
would
part-
agree that they were
you
also
can't
part
speak
of
about
Palestine.
Gaza alone.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you. Now, while Israel's borders and our studios appear to heat up, the Prime Minister also under fire after the police recommended charging him with bribery, fraud and breach of trust. Netanyahu addressed the nation before the police released their findings. Take a listen to that.
ואני רוצה קודם כל להרגיע אתכם. הקואליציה יציבה, אין לאף אחד, לא לי ולא לאף אחד אחר, תוכניות ללכת לבחירות. אנחנו נמשיך לעבוד יחד איתכם למען אזרחי מדינת ישראל עד סוף הקדנציה. אחרי שקראתי את דוח ההמלצות, אני יכול להגיד שזה מסמך מוטה, קיצוני, מחורר כמו גבינה שוויצרית. זה לא מחזיק מים.
Our guest still with us in studio, Professor Kedar, I'll come to you first. What do you make of this corruption probe?
Well, in my humble view, wake me up after the end of the trial. It will take some years. Meanwhile, all the media is dealing with this day and night. Believe me, I don't want to know about
After
this.
similar probes, we saw other prime ministers step down immediately, didn't we? So we saw Yitzhak Rabin step down very quickly when this happened, Olmert as well. Do we not expect the same from this prime minister?
The only thing which I know is that the more these schemes are being aired in the media, the more is the support for Netanyahu in the Israeli
You're saying
street.
the police are incorrect in this probe, they didn't do their job?
I have no idea what they did good and what they did not good. But believe me, it's highly politicized on both sides, and I really don't know. I'm not in the investigation.
You mean one side is the police and one side is our Israel's prime minister?
But what I know that the support to Netanyahu after the conclusions of the police was publicized is now bigger.
Public support, yes, please, Dr. Shamir.
Look, in my opinion, this is almost incredible. After a year of investigations spanning different continents, all the police can come up with is wine and cigars.
I'm sorry, but these wine and cigars are worth a lot of money. This is not wine and cigars. This is not alcohol. This is money. We're talking about 70,000 shekels worth of cigars.
And for which there was really...
This is bribery. It's not just alcohol. This is bribery
what will they
from
give
the
it?
top office.
I heard the news this morning, and someone was trying to draw a parallel between the break-in into Watergate with Nixon, who was also a very good president, and Netanyahu. Really? I mean, over a decade, from personal friends, receiving gifts for which you gave virtually nothing except helping a friend get a visa, this you want to criminalize? Really?
Did Netanyahu not request from Olmert to step down after he was accused?
Different kettle of fish altogether. But I don't want to go into the Olmert thing because we haven't got much time.
It's important because it's relevant in this behavioural action of the Prime Minister.
I found much of his conviction unpersuasive, and I thought that he would get off in appeal. The thing that actually brought Olmert down was his obstruction of justice because of the tapes that were released by his assistant. So that's something completely different. But
he did still resign from office after that.
He resigned from office because he was forced to resign from the coalition. He didn't resign himself.
Because he didn't have any popular support.
He had no popular support.
This is the difference.
This is nothing.
But
this
does
is nothing
Netanyahu
less.
have support among his own coalition?
Much bigger.
This is nothing less
Bigger
than
support. What about Yair Lapid being one of the key
Yair
witnesses?
Lapid now is being viewed as a collaborator.
You couldn't make this up. You can't make this up. A sitting prime minister is trying to be deposed because of wine and cigarettes over 10 years, which he got from
over
friends.
money. Let's not reduce it to wine and cigarettes. This is bribery.
When he was
This
in
is
opposition,
corruption.
when he was opposition, and when he wasn't in opposition.
What do you make of him turning against the police, against al-Sheikh, who he himself elected?
I think what you're witnessing now is an attempted legalistic and media coup to try and change the election results by means other than the polls, because they can't change them through the polls.
What do you make of that comment?
I think that what we are listening now is to a kind of cacophony of names and of stories. And okay, but very soon, everything will be clear. It will be in court, and it will be clear exactly what happened, and then we will let the system work. And the system is that not in this studio and not in any other studio, we will judge Netanyahu. So I think all what we are talking now has to do with building. Those who are against Netanyahu, they found the proof that he is this and this and this. Those who are in favor of Netanyahu, they are also saying that this is bullshit, the whole thing. So let's not talk about it before I'm ready
Before
to come again here in
a
few months. And then I will tell you what I think about Netanyahu.
But
maybe he's a criminal, but not yet.
I've never been an uncritical apologist for Netanyahu, even called for his resignation. But on issues of policy, not on wine and champagne. On issues of policy.
I would like just to add that the standard that we expect, the Prime Minister is much higher than a civil citizen. And more than that, in a way, when Netanyahu does not resign, when he has those indictments in a minute, what is the message that he's bringing to the officials in any municipal city, in any office in the state, that you can be accused in bribery, you can do those things for benefit yourself, and it's okay. You need to get that, to be in jail when it's over, and this is a bad message, and this is a sad situation for our democracy.
Do you agree that that's a bad message to send out?
It depends how you interpret the situation here, because I think that even if you accept what the police say and you decide that the presence were inappropriate, so there are all sorts of other things you can do, like disciplinary measures, fine, return the money, return the gifts, or something like that. But criminal charges for accepting wine and cigars from a close friend, really? Really?
In exchange for visa.
Exchange for what? A visa.
This is bribery in the Israeli.
This is a huge bribery.
Wait a minute. In the Israeli system of law, this is bribery.
He also tried to put through a law that would see the return of citizens from 10 to 20 years. There was other things involved, not just the visa.
That was a law passed by the
Olmert. That would directly affect the man involved.
Passed under the Olmert government, and according to Lapid, he spoke to him twice. They didn't say he pushed pressure on it. He raised the issue. You know, the things have been blown so out of proportion that it's almost inconceivable.
Dr. Kedar, I see you shaking your head. Do you have something to add? Final comment.
Look, Netanyahu was not cautious. Let's admit. Yet,
he should hide when he's...
He should know better how to behave with all kinds of things, with friends, with not friends, with gifts, with everything. He should, but to use this as a reason to kick him out from his office, it's not enough.
Inconceivable.
I would just want to say that in Israel's system of law, the give and take situation, it doesn't have to be full for making it a bribery. It's a bribery even if they have understanding of give and take, and this is why it's going to be accused of bribery.
Forget the legal niceties. Use common sense. Use your common sense.
And my common sense says he does not need to take million shekel worth goods for giving something
Your
back.
problem, according to your common sense, he doesn't have to be in office to begin with. So this is why you say what you say, and this is why your credibility is nothing.
I don't think that was
How about your
exactly
credibility, Moti?
Right, of course.
Well, moving on, Israel's Attorney General now has to decide whether or not to indict Netanyahu on those corruption charges. Meanwhile, the Israeli Prime Minister is set to meet with the US President Donald Trump next month after Netanyahu declared that he's been in discussion with American officials over the possible annexation of Jewish settlements in the West Bank. Here's the response from the Palestinian Authority.
نعتبر أن كل الاستيطان الاستعماري حسب القانون الدولي هو غير شرعي وغير قانوني ولا بد من إزالته من كل الأراضي الفلسطينية المحتلة. الموقف الأمريكي الذي يحاول الآن أن يكون في ذات الخندق مع الاحتلال في مواجهة قضية شعبنا الفلسطيني وهو شريك في العدوان والجرائم ضد الشعب الفلسطيني، هذا الأمر الذي يجب أن يتوقف، ومن أجل أيضا التأكيد على أن كل محاولات الاحتلال الاستفادة من هذه الأجواء لن تنجح في كسر إرادة شعبنا الفلسطيني وتثبيت الوقع على الأرض.
The Palestinian Authority responding there. Do we think this is something that's going to happen? Is Benjamin Netanyahu going to annex the Jewish settlements from the West Bank?
I think that he's not the first one. I can remind you when we were in Camp David with Barak. Barak brought actually the same ideas of annexing the settlements, the big settlements. So this is on the table for such a long time, the annexation of the settlement, that even the Palestinians understand that it will be an annexation.
What does annexation mean exactly?
Annexation means that when we have peace, these places will be Israel. Very simple.
400,000 Jewish settlers will belong to Israel.
I'm thinking about the blocks.
Are they not already there?
Yeah, everybody knows it.
What about
everybody?
What about
it's
Ariel?
not a secret.
What about Ariel?
Ariel is part of it.
What about Ariel?
Ariel is part of it. I'm not going to show you on the map. I can tell you.
That's the whole point. Everything sounds fine until you look at the map. Until you look at the map, everything sounds fine.
Here, I'm
yes,
sorry.
okay, please.
I've been in a
you have the
situation
floor.
like that.
Please.
I don't have a map. I don't have a map, so I can't show you. But trust me, I've seen all the maps, and in all the maps, Ariel is in. And all the settlements.
Why is Ariel a point of dispute here?
But how do you get to Ariel? How do you access Ariel safely?
All the settlements, the big settlements, was agreed. It was agreed with Arafat. It is agreed with the current Prime Minister. And this is not a question anymore. We are talking about a situation that everybody knows, including the Palestinians, definitely the Americans. What will be with the blocks? We know it.
We need to distinguish between swaps, and then we need to annex part of the settlers in the blocks in some relations. This is one. This is swaps into Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement, and this is something else. What we're seeing today, it's idea of annexation, the sea territories. And basically, probably the biggest gift that Netanyahu administration can give to the BDS and the Israeli haters, because this is basically the road, the path to apartheid. We are not talking about giving the Palestinian in those territories, not giving them citizenship, and we're not talking about bring them part of Israel. We're talking about them being a non-citizen, a different kind of citizen in Israel. And this is basically what they hope to see. That Israel now is admitting that this is apartheid.
How is this different from the reality we're seeing right now on the ground?
Because now Ariel the Israeli citizens in Ariel are part of the Israeli law. But Ariel is not part of the Israeli state sovereignty.
So whose sovereignty is it under?
It's under occupation, under the IDF.
The whole idea of sovereignty would be to abolish the military rule and impose Israel's civilian rule. I think it's
just for the Jewish citizens of the West Bank.
Well, that's exactly why I don't think Israel should rule other people, which is why I've been advocating for over a decade incentivized immigration of non-belligerent Palestinians so they can find a better life and more secure elsewhere. You know,
incentivized immigration.
Incentivized immigration. You know, if you want the ultimate indictment of the two-state solution,
this is forced expulsion.
Look what's happening in Gaza. The people responsible for the fate of Gaza, the undrinkable water, the untreated sewage, the lack of electricity, are people who advocate the two-state solution. And that's going to happen in Judea and Samaria. What's the solution? To build, look, in Gaza they're building a wall 20 meters high and 40 meters deep. Are you going to do that in Judea and Samaria? Not on a 50-kilometer border, but a 500-kilometer border? Really, get real, guys. What has to happen? What has to happen until you people admit that the two-state solution, the attempt to foist statehood on the Palestinian collective was a massive mistake, not only for the Jews, but for the Palestinians themselves.
I think Prime Minister Netanyahu doesn't agree with you.
You think Netanyahu is for a two-state
definitely
solution? This is why he's going along the annexation path.
Yeah, as I said,
look,
with the US
there are
support.
things we say,
I'm not
and
a
there are
supporter of
things we know,
Netanyahu.
and there are things we think. It's different in politics. In politics, even Netanyahu knows the map. He knows the map, and it's the same map we are talking for the last 10 years.
How long will the border be, Moshe? 500 kilometers?
We are not dealing here with the borders now.
No,
I even
because
don't have a map to show you.
But you know the map. How long will Israel's border be? 500 kilometers? 600 kilometers with total topographic inferiority?
I can
How
tell
do you
you,
expect
we are
to...
speaking in percentage. We were speaking on the blocks of something like not more than 10%. So
That's
in
what
this
does that mean?
10%, all the blocks will be in.
What does that even mean?
And every Palestinian in the negotiation knows
You're going to
it.
find compensating territory for territorial swaps? Really, where?
Wait a minute, I want to
We
add...
are not
Final
dealing with the
comments,
map
we only
here.
have 1 minute left, so
Wait,
just
I think there is a
connection.
We're totally wrong in our concept. First of all, no one in the world, neither Netanyahu nor Trump, can make sure that a Palestinian state will never become another Hamastan, either by elections as happened in Gaza, as happened in 2006, or by coup d'etat as happened in 2007. This is why
After
we
unilateral
all have to take
withdrawal of Israeli
in account
troops.
that the Palestinian state will be another Hamastan, either by elections or by coup d'etat. This is why the only solution is the Emirate solution in the Arab cities, in the Judea and Samaria, while Israel should remain forever in the rural areas and give Israeli citizenship to the villagers, which are more or less like 10% of the population.
I think this item is related to the previous item because
About
Netanyahu
corruption.
now is in distress and politically in a political crisis, and we see the hard right shaking him down, and Naftali Bennett and others now trying to make those bills and initiatives that are really they're crucial and they're devastating to the Israeli vision and the democracy of Israel as we see it, and maybe we can see the connection is very dangerous for this.
Why would you want?
Why do you come with this nonsense?
Why would you want to establish yet another homophobic, misogynistic, Muslim majority tyranny on the fringes of Tel Aviv? Explain to me.
The security of Israel is the only thing that I'm cared about.
So why do you want to have
a
mega Gaza overlooking Ben Gurion?
You want to listen or you want to talk?
You know what could possibly go wrong?
Listen, I'm not the only one that's talking about two-state solution. All the seniors, high-ranking of IDF, the Shin Bet,
been the
are talking
policy line
about
for
two-state
decades.
solution.
Yes.
I'm not the only one that's talking about. Gabi Ashkenazi,
You know what?
Benny
I want
Gantz.
to find you one general who will explain to you why a 100-kilometer border is militarily preferable to a 500-kilometer border.
This is
because what they say.
This is the best option we have on the table.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, we're out of time for now. We'll try and pick this up again next week. We will have to leave it there. Thank you very much to Professor Moshe Amirav, Yotam Yakoba, Dr. Mordechai Kedar, and Dr. Martin Sherman. And thank you at home for joining us here on ILTV Weekly. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.